When you think of states' rights and the party that is the champion of states' rights, what party do you think of? I think of Republicans. They use that all the time. States' rights, and now they seem to be doing it more than ever. States' rights, states' rights. And when you think about the party that is most interested in federal legislation and federal power that would then dictate to states what you must do, you think of the Democrats, don't you? I do. But I got a story for you right now where the roles are reversed, where Republicans aren't interested in states' rights. Democrats are interested in states' rights. The Republicans want a federal authority that dictates what states must do and take away any individual power that they would have. And then the Democrats that would normally be okay with something like that are defending the states and that they shouldn't have to go through and do something like that. It's all about the issue of concealed carry. Lawmakers in Washington are looking at a House bill that would give Americans who hold permits now to carry firearms in their home states the right to carry those weapons across state lines. So if you have a permit to carry in PA, you can carry that firearm anywhere in the country. So what it essentially does is make the state with the least amount of regulation and requirements for the ability for concealed carry, it makes them the standard. So you come across a state that has very little requirements. You got a pulse? Okay. You can pass a background check? All right, good. That's all that matters. Nothing else matters besides that. You have yourself a permit to carry, and you can go anywhere in the country, even if some other state decides we want to have greater limitations on that. Can't have it. Testifying before Congress on Tuesday, Philadelphia Police Commissioner Charles Ramsey told the story of Marcus Hill, a man whose Pennsylvania gun permit was revoked after he was charged with attempted murder. Despite his record, he then used his Florida permit to carry a loaded gun in Philadelphia, according to Commissioner Ramsey. He eventually shot a teenager 13 times in the chest, killing him on the street. Now, prohibiting him from doing this doesn't obviously keep him from committing a crime. It just made the fact that he was carrying the weapon in the first place not a crime, because he was carrying a weapon concealed that he got from somebody else. I mean, is it really that simple? Is that really the way you can look at this thing? Should states have the ability to determine for themselves what regulations they want to have on people before they give them, they grant them concealed carry? Or should the federal government step in and say, listen, this is the way you're doing it, whether you like it or not? Well, with us right now is Kim Stolfer. Kim is the head of FOAC, FAOC, Firearms Owners Against Crime. I said it right the first time. Kim, I'm going off of memory here. It's Firearms Owners Against Crime. It is FOAC?
Yes, sir.
FOAC, Firearms Owners Against Crime. Kim, your thoughts about this idea of where we would have a federal bill, a legislation, that would then make it so that a person who has a right to concealed carry in PA or any other state be able to take that to any other state and then force other states to accept it?
Well, Bob, you've opened up a wealth of opportunity here to discuss the nuances of this, because there's a lot of hyperbole surrounding this.
Okay.
First, we need to look at the Constitution that maintains what's called the full faith and credit clause, which means that other states are required to accept other states' compacts, like, for instance, driver's licenses, marriage licenses. Can you imagine what it would be like if you had to get married in every state you're going to go to before it was recognized?
Well, there are some states that don't recognize gay marriage.
Well, that's true, but the established marriages...
The Establishment Clause doesn't compel that.
Not yet, because that's another issue of prejudice here.
Okay.
But they do recognize driver's licenses, medical licenses, a whole host of things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you combine that with the fact that your right to self-defense should not end at the border of a certain state, and the different applications of law that are going on in other states and how they're making it very difficult to surmount these obstacles is the reason why the federal government got involved in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen a whole host of articles on this. And let me clear this up right away.
Okay.
This law does not overwrite any other provision of any state law. What it says is if you have a license to carry a concealed firearm
Yes.
in your home state,
Mm-hmm.
you can carry it without any type of special little agreement, reciprocity agreement is what they're called now,
Yes.
in the other state, but you have to follow that state's laws. So the things that have been written about this...
Hold on. Well, you would have to know what that state's laws are in the first place in order to then lawfully be carrying, correct?
Exactly. It's not a panacea, and it's not a wide open door, as certain anti-gun groups have tried to claim and cry the sky's falling.
Okay, so if you have a concealed carry permit in PA and you decide to go to a state that has more strict concealed carry laws, you would still have to be aware of what those laws were, abide by those laws, or you can still be criminally charged.
Right. The actual language says, person carrying a concealed handgun under this section shall be permitted to carry a handgun subject to the same conditions or limitations that apply to residents of the state who have permits issued by that state or are otherwise lawfully allowed to do so by the state.
Okay.
So it's not overriding their laws. Now, the other thing
Go ahead.
is the testimony of Chief of Police Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he quotes an individual whose name is Marcus Hill,
Yes.
who supposedly went to Florida even though he had a record. That's a flat-out lie. Absolute lie. I have an article here that talks about the Marcus Hill from Philadelphia newspaper. And what it says is Hill's record had been expunged. What Ramsey and Philadelphia have been trying to get passed in the state legislature is for people to be denied a license to carry a firearm permit and indeed even purchase a gun based on an arrest and not a conviction.
Well,
He was never convicted of anything.
But in PA, we also have it to where not only is it about convictions or arrests, but there's also a character thing that goes along with it too. Is there not?
That's correct.
So
and that is unconstitutional. It's vague, and we're going to do everything in our power to take that out because you shouldn't be denied the right to self-defense unless there is a definitive record showing that you acted in an aberrant fashion.
So you're in favor of the idea of Marcus Hill, who, in this story, that Philadelphia Police Commissioner Charles Ramsey told, where Marcus Hill is denied a gun because of attempted murder charge. He's then cleared, if you will, and then he turns around, takes the firearm, and then shoots a teenager 13 times in the chest, killing him on the street. We're not talking about an otherwise law-abiding citizen, great guy, who ought to have been given the opportunity to have a concealed carry weapon, right?
I'm not saying that Marcus Hill, what he did was right or wrong. What I'm saying is he wasn't convicted of shooting that teenager.
Yes.
He wasn't convicted of the so-called assault on a police officer. He had no convictions on his record. And in America, as a country that's based on the rule of law, you don't deny a person a freedom based on an accusation.
Well, nobody's talking about denying him the ability to own a firearm.
Well,
right?
No, actually...
I mean, you don't have a constitutional right to run around with a concealed weapon.
Actually, in Pennsylvania, if you're denied the ability to get a license to carry a firearm,
yes,
that also goes to the issue as to whether or not you can lawfully own a firearm, because it's the same check. And if you don't appeal it and you don't get, as they expunged his record, can you imagine a judge? The courts in Philadelphia said that we're going to expunge Marcus Hill's record with all of these charges that Ramsey found to be objectionable. They couldn't prosecute him for it. And then a judge actually went in and said, we're going to wipe your slate clean. So why would Ramsey say what he did about Marcus Hill in his testimony without telling the legislature that this man's record had been expunged by a sitting judge in Philadelphia?
All right, do me a favor. Hold tight right there. I got to take a break. We'll come back with more of this. Kim Stolfer is with us. We're talking about a piece of legislation making its way in Washington that would make it possible for those with gun permits to take their concealed carry weapons anywhere in the country. More on this coming up.